I came out for a run in our woods yesterday morning, and just as I was starting off, I heard a crashing in the branches, and I saw a white tail bounding off through the trees, and I was so excited. We rarely see deer in our woods. I thought, I don't have my camera. Maybe it'll still be there if I run back and grab my phone. So I ran back to the house, grabbed my phone, came back and went all through our trails in the woods here, hoping to catch it on my camera. And it was long gone. There was no way. And I was frustrated. I had really wanted to catch it. But, you know, I kept running, and our trails are actually really short here. And so I ran back up by our house. And as I did so, our puppy came down and wanted to join me. Now, she's a beginner. She's pretty young. And I was immediately skeptical. And I was like, no, I think the puppy should stay here. Well, my husband was out with our baby as well. And he was like, no, you know, I went with her a couple days ago. She was fine. She followed right along, and you can do it. So, okay. So I went into the woods with her, and she actually did pretty well on the first loop. She made it all the way around. I was like, okay, this could work. The second loop, total disaster. No way. She had fallen apart. She was getting all tangled up in my legs. And okay, so I took her back up to the house and said, no, she needs to stay here. And I went back down into the woods, but off she came following me, and same story, just all tangled up, total disaster. So I brought her back to the house, and I said, she just needs to be here. And my husband was like, well, let's try, you know, a rope around her collar. Okay, so we did that, and, you know, I ran off into the woods with the rope, and that was worse. It was just getting tangled in the trees and the branches, and it was not working. And by now, my frustration was, and I said, no, she is staying here. And I ran back, and I was really fuming by this point. I had missed the deer, and now I, you know, just wasted a bunch of time. This was a quick run that I wanted to do, and so I was stumbling and tripping all over the rocks and the roots. I'd had a late night the night before, staying up to work on a project that was time pressured, and then the baby had decided that she needed to get up early that morning, and I had not had time for my worship, or had not taken the time for my morning worship because the schedules were all off, and I was in a low place. And as I went stumbling through the woods, thinking about that deer, I thought, I need a deer's feet right now. That deer had bounded off into the forest so nimbly. She didn't trip on a thing. She didn't seem to have a care in the world. She was as joyful as could be, bounding off into this dense shrubbery. That's what I need. I need a deer's feet in this low place. Last week, I shared from Habakkuk 3:19 how God promises to give us a deer's feet and help us walk on our high places. And as I was running, I realized that passage is actually not just for the high places. It's not just promising to help us along in our upward journey towards perfection, towards communion with God. It's also promising to help us in the low places, because they're part of the journey too. Verses 17 and 18, which come right before 19, obviously, say this: though the fig tree may not blossom, and there be no fruit on the vines, though the labor of the olive may fail, and the fields yield no food, though the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. Yes, on my own, I cannot rejoice in the low places. I will stumble and I will trip. But in the Lord, I can rejoice. In God's salvation, I can find joy. So here's a little song. Though the fig tree may not blossom, and there be no fruit on the vine, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in God's salvation. Though the olives labor fail me, and the fields may yield no food, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in God's salvation. Habakkuk 3:17 and 18. I think I need to find a better sequence there for the verse at the end. It doesn't quite fit in the melody. Anyway, let's rejoice in him today. In him today. Not on our own, but in him. He can do anything. He can lead us through whatever low place we may meet today. He loves you.